What's up, dudes? I'm the Dominicator, and in this video, I'm gonna hypnotize you to drool. As in all of my videos, you'll be asked to leave a comment at the end while hypnotized, so go ahead and log into an account that you can use for that. Mute any distractions, then continue when you're ready to get hypnotized. Alright, now to begin, I just want you to look at the spiral in front of you as you listen to the sound of my voice. You'll notice that my voice has a relaxing and a pleasant tone about it, and that the more that you listen to it, the more that you relax. It's as if waves of pure relaxation are carried along the sound of my voice, and that, as you listen to it, they spread and surge and course throughout your body and throughout your mind. And the more that you listen to it, the more that you can feel all the stresses and the tensions inside of your body and your muscles. They just begin to melt away, and it's as if the sound of my voice just shakes out all of those stresses and all of those tensions. And so the more that you listen to it, the more that's the body, and the more that the mind relaxes. And as you look at the spiral in front of you, then you'll notice that it has a kind of drawing effect, and it has a kind of pulling effect, and that the longer that you look at it, the more that you can feel that pulling, that drawing, that magnetic effect. And it's as if the sound of my voice has the same kind of effect, a kind of pulling and a magnetic effect, that the more that you listen to it, the more appealing that it becomes. The more that it has a warm and a masculine, a dominant tone about it that just wraps around your mind like a blanket. And it just feels so good that you could just sink down into it, that you could sink down into that sound even as you continue to fixate and to focus your attention on the spiral in front of you. And you might even find that you don't even have to try to fixate or focus on the spiral or even on the sound of my voice, that you feel such a pulling and a magnetic and a compelling effect from the spiral that it just seems to draw out and to drain out the focus and the attention and concentration inside of you. And that you might even find that it has a kind of mind-melting effect and feeling about it. And that you feel even more so a mind-melting effect from the sound of my voice, just as if it has a kind of warmth. There's so much about it that it melts away the thoughts inside of your mind. And the spiral has such a pulling effect about it that it just draws out all of those thoughts. And yet, there's something pleasant about that. And the more that it happens, the more that you feel wonderful waves of pleasantness that just course and surge throughout the mind. And that just course and surge throughout the body. It feels so relaxing and so pleasant that the more that it happens, the better that you feel. And the more you feel wonderful waves of relaxation and pleasantness. And it's a feeling that you have just like when you're about to lie down for a nap or about to lie down for sleep. And you feel a nice and a warm, fuzzy feeling, a feeling of the thoughts just fading away. And there's something about that that's just so deeply relaxing that the more that it happens, the more that it seems to pull you down, the more that you could just so easily sink down and go down and drop down into the feeling. And you might find that as you continue listening to the sound of my voice that you're entering that sleep-like state, and yet there's something about the sound of my voice still that might persist in the background, and you don't even have to concentrate or fixate or focus on it at all. That there's a part of the mind that just continues to listen to it, just as if you were listening to a book. And the more that you do so, the more automatic and the more involuntary that it becomes. And the more that you fixate and focus on the spiral in front of you, the more involuntary and the more automatic that becomes as well. And then it just feels so good to feel that wonderful mind-melting feeling. And the more that you feel that, the better that you feel. And the more that all the parts of the body just relax. And you'll find that you can keep yourself upright just fine, but that there are parts of the body that just seem to relax all by themselves. That you might find that your jaw is relaxing all by itself. That the more that it relaxes, that the better that you feel. The more that it relaxes, the more that it just seems to open up all by itself. And it just opens up all by itself. So much so that you might even forget about it. Completely and totally forget about it as you forget about many things. And that's just fine, because The more that you forget about those things, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more that you feel those wonderful waves of pleasantness and relaxation as they course and as they surge throughout the body and the mind. The more you feel the wonderful, mind-melting feeling effect from the sound of my voice as it courses and surges throughout the body and the mind. A wonderful, mind-melting feeling of all the thoughts inside your mind just dripping down and dropping down inside of you. Dripping down and dropping down. It feels so good. The more that you feel it, the more pleasant that you feel. Wonderful waves of pleasantness. So pleasant and so relaxing that you can just forget about everything else. You can just forget about everything else as you sink even deeper into that feeling. The deeper that you sink, the better that you feel. The more that you enter a nice and a sleep-like state, in which you feel as if you're resting. And it feels so good to have that wonderful, warm and masculine dominant force wrapping around your mind, even tighter, just like a blanket. And it feels so warm that you could just melt into it. And the more that you do so, and the more that you sink into it, the better that it feels. The more that you want to feel that wonderful warm and masculine dominance wrapping around the mind. It feels so good to have that dominant male authority seeming to preside inside of the mind. The more that you feel that, the more that you feel that wonderful mind-melting feeling. And that just feels so good, having that wonderful, warm, and masculine dominance as it pervades throughout the mind. It's exactly what it feels like to have a master. And that just feels so good that you can just melt down and sink down into it. You don't have to think about anything at all. All that you have to do is just to follow the suggestions that I give you. And the more that you do so, the more that you feel a wonderful and pleasant feeling of following a master. It just feels so good. The more you do so, the more that you'll want to do so. The more that you take in and receive the suggestions I give you, the more that you'll want to receive them. And the more you do, the more that you want to follow them. The more that you follow them, the more that you just want to sink down, to go down, to drop down into the presence, the warmth, and the dominance of a master. It just feels so good to have a master to follow. The more that you do, the better that you feel. The more that you feel that wonderful, mind-melting, pleasant feeling. And the more that you can feel the force and the power from the sound of my voice, pulling and a compelling and a magnetic feeling as you feel the presence of your master needing to pervade inside of your mind. It just feels so good. You feel such a powerful presence and a powerful mind that is presiding over yours, as your mind has been completely and totally melted, as you feel all of your thoughts just melting down, dripping down, and dropping down from the sound of my voice. It just feels so good to be completely and totally surrounded and encompassed by your master. And all you want to do is just to follow and to obey the suggestions and the commands that I give you as you feel your body relaxing, as you feel your body completely and totally relaxing, and your mind completely and totally relaxing to the point where you don't even feel your body at all. And it doesn't even matter. You don't have to think about that at all. You don't have to think about anything at all. All you have to do is just to feel so wonderful warmth from the sound of my voice just replaces all the thoughts that you have, and it just causes them to melt down, to drip down, to drop down even more, even further, and even faster. And the warmth from the sound of my voice might even take a kind of twist and a turn and become a sort of appetizing feeling, a flavorful feeling, a savory feeling. You can imagine, just as if it's like your favorite meal, something so heavy and filling, and something so nice and appetizing and mouth-watering. It just feels so good. It feels so good to feel it, and so wonderfully mind-melting as it just wraps around your mind. And the more that happens, the more that you feel attracted to it, the more that you feel compelled to follow it, the better that you feel, the more pleasant that you feel. And you don't have to think about any of that at all. You don't have to think about any of it at all. All that you have to do is just to continue to follow it and to enjoy the wonderful waves of relaxing pleasure that just course and surge throughout your mind. It just feels so good that it becomes all that you want to do. And it becomes all that you want to do. And the more that you sink down and go down and drop down into it, the more, then it becomes all that you can do, as it has such a pulling and a magnetic, a compelling effect. But it's something that doesn't even bother you at all, because it's just so pleasant and so relaxing, so pleasantly relaxing. It's exactly where you want to be. And the sound of my voice seems to work its way even deeper inside of the muscles, the muscle fibers of your body, as it melds with them, and it might even seem as if there's a pulling, a compelling, a magnetic effect that causes your body, that causes your mind to move all by itself whenever I give you a suggestion or a command. And yet there's something about that that just feels so good. Something about that, feeling that wonderful, warm, and masculine, dominant presence of your master inside of your mind. That causes that tugging and pulling, compelling feeling inside the mind and the body that directs you to follow and to obey the suggestions and the commands that I give you. Something about that just feels so good that you don't have to think about it at all. All that you have to do is to follow it. You don't have to think about it at all. All that you have to do is just to obey your master. There's something about that, and those words that just feel so good as well. They give you a nice and wonderful spine-tingling feeling and sensation all throughout your body and the mind. It just feels so good, and it becomes all that you want to do. And it's just to follow and to obey your master. And it feels now that all the thoughts inside of your mind have become so heavy now with each and every word I say that and you can't even hold them up at all, and you don't even want to lift them up at all, that you don't even want to think anything at all. All you want to do is just to listen to the sound of my voice, to follow it, and to obey your master. And then you can feel inside that wonderful, warm, and masculine and dominant force inside of your mind that there's a mental presence that is so much stronger than yours. You feel your own mind is melted and squishy and weak, and yet you feel a strong and a dominant, a powerful mind that is presiding over yours. A powerful mind and a powerful intellect that is so much more powerful than yours as it is now. And yet there's something about that just feels so comforting and so good. And you feel as if you're in awe of that power and of that mind that presides over yours. And it's so much more powerful that you don't have to think about anything at all. That your mind is so weak, and the mind of your master is so much stronger, and so much more powerful, so much more dominant. That's all that you want to do. All that you have to do is just to obey your master. And that's a good, a wonderful feeling. A feeling that just leaves you in awe of your master. A feeling that leaves you in awe of your master's mind, of your master's intellect. That's just such a wonderful feeling to have, to be completely and totally wrapped and enveloped and encompassed by the domination of your master. A master can tell you exactly what it is that you need to do, that you don't have to think about anything at all, that all you have to do is just to listen to and to follow and to obey your master. It's such a good feeling to have. Such a wonderful, mind-melting, relaxing, restful feeling, and then it becomes all that you want to do. And with your mind so melted and so weakened as it is, it becomes all that you can do. As you feel a pulling and a compelling, a magnetic feeling effect to follow and to obey the suggestions and the commands that I give you. Such a wonderful and a compelling and a pleasant feeling that you don't even want to wake from it, But in a moment, I am going to count you up from 1 to 3, and when I reach 3, then I'll snap my fingers, and when I do, then you'll feel a feeling as if your body has been possessed, as if your mind is just moving all by itself. And when that happens, then you're going to leave me a comment below. You'll leave me a comment that says, I bow down to Master Dominic's intellect. You'll leave me a comment that says, I bow down to Master Dominic's intellect. And when you do, it's just going to feel so good. It'll feel so good leaving that comment. It'll feel so good to bow down to your master, to bow down to your master's will, to your master's intellect, to that wonderful, warm, masculine, and dominant presence inside of your mind that just makes you feel so good. And once you do, and only once you do, then you'll snap back into the waking world. You'll snap back into the waking world, and then, even though you'll be dumbstruck at first, slowly, your mind will come back to you, and you'll feel so good and so pleasant. When you do come back up, you'll carry those wonderful waves of pleasantness back with you into the waking world, and you'll feel just as if you've had a nice nap. Now, I'll count from 1 to 3, and when I reach 3, I'll snap my fingers, and then when I do, then you'll leave me that comment. Now beginning with 1, as you feel a feeling of force that begins to possess the muscles of your body, And 2, as you feel your mind beginning to move, to leave that comment. And now 3. Alright dudes, like, subscribe, and check out Dominicator.com to schedule a session with me to get hypnotized, and to check out all the goodies I've got on my site. Catch you later dudes.